Hey gang, welcome back to my channel. So today we're gonna do another one of my makeup chit chats, and we are going to talk some serious talk. We're gonna talk our talk today, and we're gonna talk about the civil unrest. We're gonna talk about what's happening in the world today. We're gonna get into this whole George Floyd situation and the repeated injustices against people that look like me. So I advise you guys now, if you are not up for this conversation, you can politely exit. And on your way out, I challenge you to take a look in the mirror, because if you are not able to sit and have this conversation, you are a part of the problem. All right. So for this video, I'm going to use the Revolution and Patricia Bright palette. If you've never seen it, this is what the palette looks like. Not sure what look we're going for today. We're just going to talk and create. You know, guys, I can't even begin to express how frustrated I am just with this entire situation. Yet again, we have another innocent black man killed in the streets at the hands of the people, the person that swore to serve and protect. So apparently we don't fall in the class of needing to be served and protect, because this continuous behavior is neither service nor protection. It's a shame that we can't do anything. We cannot do anything. We can't jog. We can't go to the store and buy Skittles. We can't do anything. Everything we do is looked upon as a threat. It's a proposed threat. We are, just classified as less than human, because I guarantee you, if George Floyd was Miss Clayton's Pomeranian, or, Mr. Jackson's German Shepherd, the outrage would have been insane and the justice would have been instantaneous. So there is more regard to freaking dogs than people. And don't get me wrong, I love dogs. But how are we seen and treated as less than animals? So in response to the slow-moving justice system, and in response to yet again another innocent black man, taken from us, we now have, these riots, and, people are protesting, and, they're expressing their concern, and they're expressing their frustration. And I'm here for it. I am here for it. Now, I know there are people on both sides of this. There's, two arguments. There are people on both sides of the spectrum. And some people feel like, you're destroying your own communities, and, you're just, this is unnecessary. Okay, so what are we supposed to do? When we protest silently, Colin Kaepernick, we lose our jobs. The president, the leader of our country himself, goes on a rant and calls, these players sons of bitches, disrespecting the very black wombs from which they were birthed, because they chose to kneel in silent protest, in a peaceful protest. So if we protest peacefully, we're wrong. If we get frustrated and angry and we lash out and we protest in anger, we're wrong. So what do? What, you expect us to sit and continue to sit with our hands folded in our laps? Gone are the days. And then when they finally arrest him, I won't even give, I won't even give his name. It's not even worth mentioning his name. Finally is arrested. The officer's finally arrested. charges brought forth, and the charges are absolutely absurd. 3rd-degree murder and manslaughter. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So we really want to now try to look at this situation and say there was anything remotely accidental. How? How do we find anything remotely accidental in this situation? So, it's ridiculous. So you can essentially kill us and get away with it. Continue to get away with it. What is that? So, I want to do something. So I'm going to do a little research, and we're going to talk about the different classifications of murders, because I really want you guys to understand how absolutely ridiculous the charge of 3rd-degree murder or manslaughter is. So I went online and I pulled up some definitions. And so I have the definition of 1st-degree murder. And so 1st-degree murder is defined as, it says in most states, 1st-degree murder is defined as an unlawful killing that is both willful and premeditated, meaning that it was committed after planning or lying in wait for the victim, right? So I will give a little grace and say maybe this was not 1st-degree murder. Maybe this was not a planned out event. The officer did not go to this, the scene to murder someone. Okay, so maybe we can take 1st-degree murder off the table. Let's take a look at 2nd-degree murder. 2nd-degree murder is generally defined as intentional murder that lacks premeditation, is intended to only cause bodily harm, and demonstrates an extreme indifference to human life. That sounds quite befitting, don't you think? Okay, so let's take a look at 3rd-degree murder. And I gotta tell you guys, just looking at this definition is aggravating. It is so convoluted. Like, the other 2 definitions were pretty much straight to the point. This definition is like 3 paragraphs. So I'm just gonna give you the gist of it. All right, so the exact statutory definition of 3rd-degree murder is the unlawful killing of a human being when perpetrated without any design to effect death by a person engaged in the perpetration, or in the attempt to perpetrate any felony other than 19 enumerated categories of felonies. It constitutes a 2nd-degree felony. All right, let's take a look at manslaughter, which is an even simpler definition. The definition of manslaughter is the crime of killing a human being without malice, afterthought, or aforethought, whichever way you want to pronounce it, or otherwise in circumstances not amounting to murder. So honestly, from where I'm sitting, while it's not, and I would say that it's not 1st-degree murder, it became 2nd-degree murder. The moment George Floyd began to plead and beg for his life, the moment he said, "I can't breathe," the moment he began to cry for his mother, and that officer did not readjust his position, he kept his knee in his neck with his hands in his pocket, and this man is literally pleading for his life, crying, urinating on himself because of the position that he's in, and you maintain your stance. At that moment, it becomes second degree murder, because now for what reason would you not move? For what reason do you have that, you even feel threatened? You couldn't have said you felt threatened because your hands were in your freaking pocket. So no, 3rd-degree murder, absolutely not. Manslaughter, absolutely not. Ridiculous. Before I continue on expressing my thoughts, I do want to take a minute to say thank you to all of the non-African American people that have locked arms with us and that have gone out into these streets and that are raising their voices and that are taking this stance with us. So to all of the white Americans, all of the Hispanic Americans, all of the Asian Americans, all of those who are non-African American, thank you. Round of applause to you. Thank you for, especially to, white people. Thank you for defying what your parents and your grandparents and your great-grandparents and your uncles have taught you. The hate that has been, tried to be placed in you, because hate and racism is not, you're not born with that. That's learned behavior. So thank you for going against the grain. Thank you for saying that this is not acceptable, that this is not an acceptable way of thinking. Thank you for standing with us. Though you may not understand, though you may not be directly impacted, and though you may not be able to really, really take this in on a personal level, thank you for saying it's unacceptable and we stand with you. Thank you. As I, just kind of continue on, and I'm thinking more and more about this situation. It is, I'm just going to reactivate this a little bit. It is an absolute shame that we as African Americans, we as Black men and Black women, Black mothers and Black fathers, that we have to have conversations with our children about how to engage with the police. We have to teach our children how to not be killed by a police officer. We have to teach them how to interact with those that have sworn to protect them. That is just the most insane concept to me. That, this is a part of our experience. And you guys that follow my channel, that I have a grandson. He's 2 years old. I have 2 adult daughters. I send my children out to the world. They both drive. I send my children out into the world to live. And I have to worry that they will encounter some officer, that will view them as a threat when all they're trying to do is get from point A to point B. I fear that my 2-year-old grandson, as he grows, if we don't resolve this issue, and if we don't hold these people, these officers accountable, if we don't put accountabilities in place, I fear that it will one day be my grandson that finds himself face down on the ground with a knee in his neck. Or it will be my grandson that finds himself staring down the barrel of some cocky officer's gun. It will be my grandson who they leave to die in a jail cell and then use his dead body to take his mugshot. No. It's time out. It's time for a change, and it's time for a change now, It's these 911 Bettys too. It's why is there such a heightened fear? Why does my skin color make you afraid? What about my pigment? What is it about my pigmentation that scares you? What is it about the melanin in my skin that automatically makes me a criminal in your eyes? Like, where's the accountability to these people with these bogus 911 calls? Where's the accountability to these prosecutors and these police chiefs, the police chiefs who have repeat offenders of excessive force? Where are you? So where are you? Where are you? Mr. President, you make a call for the governors to do something about these riots. How about you take that same energy and place a phone call to the police commissioners. Where are you, police commissioner, with holding your team accountable? Why does officer such and such have 19 complaints against him and he's still working? No discipline in his file. Why is he still patrolling our streets? And he is a habitual offender. Why? So if we want to throw questions and throw frustration at the governors, 45, I dare you, I challenge you to throw that energy to the mayors and the police commissioners and the police chiefs. Hold these officers accountable when they're getting these bogus phone calls and these bogus 911 calls because a black man is babysitting 2 white kids and he's taking the kids to the park. Because a black man is walking his dog. Because a black man is grilling on the beach. Come on, accountability is the name of the game. You know, guys, it's just a very disheartening situation that we found ourselves in, and it's a shame that it's ongoing. And, you know, thinking back to what I was saying earlier about us having to teach our children how to interact with those that are sworn to protect them. But the sad part is, even though we teach them and they do what we tell them to do, there have been still instances where we've lost our sons and our daughters doing what we taught them to do, following police orders, and our babies still don't come home. Unacceptable. While we're saying thank you, to other races that have joined in the protest, thank you to other countries. Other countries, you're not even directly affected by this. But I saw this morning the people in the streets of New Zealand. Crowds of people in New Zealand protesting. It's time to wake up. America, it's time to wake up. It's time for us to do better. It's time for change. And you know what? For us, for the people that look like me, it's time for us to do more than just physically do something about it. It's time for us to do more than what we're doing with this the looting and the riots. It's time for us to use all of our means, and that's including voting. It's time for us to also use our voices. Stop putting these old white men with these old white men ideologies in our offices. It's time for us to stop looking at what party they support. If they're Democrat or they're Republican or they're independent or they're conservative. Bump that. What does this person actually stand for? What are the values that this person has exhibited? Let's start really doing our homework and researching and listening to what these candidates are about. The people that will represent us. If you're going to represent me, be for me. It's time for us to exhaust all of our means. So guys, I encourage you guys to have the conversation. Start talking about it. Those of us that are on social media, those of you that are influencers or influencers in the making or vloggers, start reaching out and talking about this stuff to your viewers. Use your platform, whether you're just starting out and you have 3 people, or you've been in the game for a while and you have 3 million. If you only got 3 people, talk to those 3 people. Let's start progressively and actively, let's start actively making a difference. Let's start actively making a difference. You know, so let's start by having the conversation. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. We're doing something about it. And this has to stop. It has to stop. And it has to stop now. For our children, for our grandchildren, for the generations to come. Has to stop. It has to stop. All right, guys. So we've come to the end of this video. Thanks so much for chatting with me today, for taking the time to hear my perspective and to hear my frustrations and, you know, sticking out through my passions about what's going on in our nation today. I encourage you to keep the conversation going. I encourage you, if you look like me, I encourage you to continue to have conversations and educate those that don't look like us, so that they will understand why we're angry and understand why we're frustrated and understand what it's like to walk in the skin that we walk in every day. I love you guys. Stay safe, stay well, and I will see you in the next one.